Yo, what's up? This your boy Derek Branch at Strike7Sports.com. This is another episode of Strike 7 Sports Podcast. I'm joined by my co-host Brian Botta and Leo Seabury. This is another episode of Strike 7 Sports Podcast. So we just gonna jump right into it. A lot of it's gonna be another NBA heavy podcast because it's pretty much a quiet time in the NFL right now, right? Leading up to training camp, but today, a little bit of news came down with the NFL, and that's the Cleveland Browns finally shipping out Baker Mayfield to the Carolina Panthers for a draft pick, I believe. It's been reported for a while that Baker Mayfield was going to be traded. There was teams like the Seahawks where they were a possible suitor. Um, the Panthers, they were a suitor, along with a few others, but it eventually became the Carolina Panthers. And based on the details I got from the Athletic, is that the Browns will receive a conditional 2024 fifth round pick that could become a fourth rounder based on playing time, and the two teams will split his salary. Mayfield would have to play 70% of the time for the Panthers to give up a fourth round pick in 2024 instead of a fifth. All right, so with that being said, Baker Mayfield finally gets to go to a different environment. I would say a more laid back environment in like a city like Charlotte, where it's not. I'm not saying that they don't care about the Panthers. Just it's more laid back, man. It's more the expectations. They don't have these enormous expectations of the team, and they don't have the tradition of the Cleveland Browns. In regards to like the winning history of it. But I would like to ask y'all with this trade now that Baker's with the Panthers and the pieces he's going to be able to work with, are the Panthers now with adding him to the team, does that make the Panthers a second, third, or fourth place team in the NFC South?
I'll take this one first. That's kind of tough. I'd probably put them behind the Saints and the Bucks uh, because I just think those teams are ahead, and I like their quarterback situations a little better. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Panthers make the playoffs, or at least are competing to the playoffs until the very competing for a playoff spot until the very end. I love this move. As y'all know, I'm an Oklahoma fan, and I love Baker Mayfield about his story. And you feel like whenever the odds are against him, I feel like that's where he's at his best. I know he struggled last season, but he was hurt and he played through it. He should have. I feel like if you have an injury like he had, he should have just had the surgery and set out this season. That's what I would have done if I was him. But I understand he's also trying to get a long-term extension with the Browns. So I understand his thinking there. But now I think this Baker Mayfield we're going to see will be close to the what he was when the Browns made the playoffs 2 years ago. So I think it's a really nice move for the Panthers. But I kind of disagree with your point about from the standpoint that it's going to be a relaxed environment because Matt Rule's on the hot seat. And so he knows that if he doesn't get the job done, there's a good chance he's going to get fired. And so that's why I also said what I said earlier, that I feel like Baker Mayfield will probably save Matt Rule's job. I really believe that. That's how much I believe in Baker. And I think the offense that they're going to run in Carolina, I believe, will be similar and close to what they ran in Cleveland because Matt Rule really wants to have a run-based offense. And then Baker Mayfield, I think he's really good at the play action stuff. So as long as they can have a really good rushing attack, which will the offensive line that needs to get it together. And they have some good running backs. Christian McCaffrey, I think, is going to really enjoy having a quarterback like Baker Mayfield. But it's going to be interesting to see because even though they traded for him, it's not a guarantee he's going to be the starter. But we believe he'll be the starter, but it's not a guarantee. I'm still going to roll out Sam Darnold starter. But this was a move. At least worst case scenario, you got your QB room got better. Ideally, you hope maybe Baker Mayfield can be that guy to get you to the playoffs or at least close in the playoff conversation. I feel like if that As long as they don't like collapse at the end of the season, I think that'll be good enough to keep Matt Rule's job. Anything short of that, I could see the Panthers are looking for a next coach next offseason.
Can hear you.
With this move, I think this makes the Panthers a playoff NFC. I think they're NFC contenders with this move, man. The talent's there. He's going to the NFC version of the Browns. The team with a lot of talent at all three levels on defense, offensive weapons abound. You have one of the best receivers in this league, and DJ Moore, a very underrated guy. You got McCaffrey. You got hello, hello.
Hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me start back. With this move, I think the Carolina Panthers become NFC contenders. You want to know why? Because like I said, I feel like he went to the NFC. He went to the NFC version of the Browns. You want to think about it. Playmakers abound on defense.
Mm.
Like a Miles, you got Miles Garrett with the Browns. You got Brian Burns with the Panthers. You got playmakers at the safety positions. You got Jeremy Chin, one of the top young underrated safeties in the league. They've always, Carolina's always had a great front seven. And then at the offensive line, they had really weak issues there when they drafted the guy from NC State. I forgot his name. But they drafted him in the first round. They're
Equan
offensive.
Equinu. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Equan Equinu.
Yeah.
Nigerian connection.
Yeah.
Can I
He good.
finish?
Get him finished.
I feel like that they could be a NFC contender because let's be honest, I think they better than the Falcons. And no offense, DB, I think talent wise, pound for pound, they better than the Saints too. Pound for pound, better than the Saints. Even though the Saints got better, I feel like the Panthers are the second best team in the division, and they could go toe to toe with the Buccaneers. I feel like they just like a quarterback away. I know Baker, and I know Deshaun Watson, but I feel like he makes that room better. And keep in mind when they was healthy last year, think about it. I know they played weak competition. In their first three games last year, we were calling Sam Darnold the revolutionized quarterback. We was all talking about Darnold's gotten way better. He had no interceptions. I think one interception through his first three starts. The team was undefeated, and then when McCaffrey got hurt, is when everything went sideways for them. So I think with you having two alpha guys, I think Darnold's an alpha. You have Baker as an alpha. That I'm not gonna lie, y'all. Whoever's the backup is not gonna be very happy. But you're gonna have one really talented backup though. You have to think about that too. Who and somebody's gonna have to prove themselves because both guys are improving years. You have to think about it. Darnold's trying to get another contract in the NFL. Baker's trying to get a long-term contract in the NFL. So you have two guys that are somebody's not gonna play. So you gotta have to figure that out. And I think while like you said, about that quarterback room got better, it may have gotten more complicated too. So and also PJ Walker, he's gonna be your third string quarterback. Look, I think they keep him around. So they, like you said, their room got better, but at the same time, it may have gotten more complicated. But this move does make them, I think, NFC contenders because while the NFC, you got your strong quarter three or four teams. I don't think there's in the back end. I think they can slide up in there and possibly become contenders if they put it all together. Because this is like Body, you just said, this is ride or die for Matt Rule. They gonna have to. This is they Matt Rule, but you know what? Every program he's been at, this is a point I want to make. He's always improved. I think would this be his third year?
It's third year.
Year three,
Yeah.
third or
Fourth year.
fourth year.
No, this
Yeah.
is third year.
Third year. It's his third year.
He's
Third year.
always improved in year three at every place he's been at, whether it be Temple or Baylor. Year three has always been the year his teams have taken off in. So keep that in mind.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what do you mean by contender? Playoff contender or a contender to win the NFC?
I say somewhere between a playoff team. I'm not gonna say win NFC, but I say playoff. They're not gonna be a bottom of the barrel team. Like, I feel like they can compete. Brian, like I wouldn't be surprised if the team went 10-7.
Yeah, and make the playoffs. I guarantee that.
Yeah.
NFC contender, hell no.
We don't know that though. We got to see what it plays out on paper though.
think about the top 3 teams. I don't think anyone's touching them: the Rams, the Bucks, and the Packers.
Somebody will touch them. Somebody will touch them. All
Cowboys.
right, but you done?
I said Cowboys. Cowboys not in your top 3?
No. No. Y'all done?
Yeah,
Wait,
we done.
one last thing. The 49ers
All
are
right,
wild.
man. The way I see it, you said that the Panthers are the version of the NFC's version of the Cleveland Browns. I don't know, man. I think there's like 3 or 4 teams like that in the NFC right now. I'll go with San Francisco, Minnesota, and Philadelphia instead of Carolina to be that type of team.
Yeah.
But the Panthers, it depends, man. It depends on if they can protect Baker Mayfield, because that was the issue last year with the offensive line. They couldn't protect Sam Darnold. Chris McCaffrey, pretty much got worn down, injury mounted up again. He was having a great year, couldn't finish the season, and I think that's what it all boils down to. And they can't rely 100% on Chris McCaffrey to be a bell cow running back, and I think that's going to be the key. So we'll see how everything plays out. But I think they could be a team that's fighting for a wild card spot. I don't think they will win the NFC South. I just don't. But they'll be a playoff team. They can be a playoff team, not a top 5, top 3 team in the conference. When I was saying a relaxed environment. I was talking about more in particular talking about the city of Charlotte compared to Cleveland, where it's like there's a rabid fan base. You know what I'm saying? A rabid fan base that's 100% dedicated to the team, getting to the Super Bowl. Winning the championship. We've got the history with Jim Brown and Paul Brown and the Dog Pound and all this other stuff. Not really, you don't really have that in Charlotte, despite the teams that they've had in the past. But he goes to a better environment. I think a more laid back environment, in my opinion. But we'll see. But other than that, I'll see a third place team and possibly a playoff team, because it depends how everything the seasons play out. I mean, you can have 3 teams in one division make the playoffs. We've seen it done in the past, so we'll see. Also, Brian, I want to ask you, saying that Baker Mayfield saves Matt Rule's job this year. So I want to ask you, how many wins does that mean? Because we had to ask you that on Twitter. So if they don't make the playoffs and they win 8 or 9 games, and they don't make the postseason, does that save his job?
That's like I added like at the end earlier when I was saying it depends how they get there. If they're fighting and they just fall up short, that's fine. But if they collapse, kind of like they did this, like early in the season, they started off strong, then just collapse. Then I think that's the beginning of the end, and I'll be stunned if Matt rolls back after that. But if they're fighting tooth and nail and they just fall up short, I could see that. But the owner hasn't come out like usually some owners and some GMs, because the GM they hired after Matt Rule, and he's not Matt Rule's guy. But even though they kind of work, Tepper and Matt Rule work together. They hire him. The thing is, like, it's gonna be tough because, like, I believe they'll improve. Whether it be good enough to make the playoffs, who knows? But the NFC is also weak. But again, the owner hasn't said it's the playoffs or bust, so that's why I give him a slight chance of remaining the coach if they fall up short and it's not a collapse. But if it's a collapse, I'll be stunned about that. And one other interesting thing, as we point out in the group message, I can't wait to see the interaction between Robbie Anderson and Baker Mayfield after what he said on Instagram. But now he's coming backtracking now. And look, some things like this, like the media will make this a bigger story than it is. But if it'll be interesting how they can squash it and then move forward. And I believe they can get rid of it. But I wouldn't be surprised if Robbie Anderson is traded if they feel like it will cause a distraction. I don't think they'll trade him, but I'm surprised if they do.
No,
Nah, I don't think that happens, man. Hey,
nah, that's crazy.
we got a comment down in the thing saying Katie to the Celtics. I don't think that happened, but see
Who?
real quick. Katie to the Celtics. Nah, I guess
I don't.
this is starts. I probably would. We'll see.
They have the
We'll,
pieces.
hey, but man, I gotta check out what I gotta see what Mike Patton said on this podcast tomorrow because he thinks Matt Rule is gonna be gone like midway through the season, and that's with Baker Mayfield
That's
supporter.
what he was saying. I was wondering what he was saying.
I'm
Nah,
like,
I
what?
was I could. I don't know. Depends on
I don't
like.
think it's gonna get that bad.
Yeah, I don't. I would be stunned if it's that bad. Unless if they like go like 0-9 or they only have 1, 2, or 3 wins out of like the first 9, 10 games, then I could see it happen. Like some people, if because Tepper, he wants to win, like, and he moves on from people pretty fast. Like Teddy Bridgewater, yeah, he's I think second richest owner now because
He's like
the
Vollmer.
yeah. But I'm talking about in the NFL because the Walmart people, they're loaded. They're just
Yeah.
the Broncos. But Tepper is kind of impatient and he moves on from people quick. Like Teddy Bridgewater, they moved on from him quick. Sam Darnold, they moved on him kind of quick. So it'll be interesting to see how this ends. But one quick question I just thought of. Do you think the Panthers, now looking back, should have taken Justin Fields or they made the right decision not taking him?
Man, Justin Fields would have had the same issues he had in Chicago. Got to protect him. You can't, they can't protect quarterbacks in Carolina. That's been the issue. So
They
no,
weren't even protecting. They weren't even protecting Cam Newton when they would have.
yeah, they didn't protect Cam Newton.
Yeah.
So he would have the same issues he had in Chicago. Got to have protection, man. So it was done is done now. So I saw that tweet though. We'll see. All right, man. Moving right along, we're gonna segue over to the NBA and talk about the NBA free agency period. And it kicked off. I think it was July 1st, if I'm not mistaken. July 1st, July 2nd. Players were able to sign deals with the new teams or stay with teams or whatever. Man. But we're gonna talk about this Rudy Gobert trade that's been getting a lot of pushback online from a couple colleagues I know and people, certain pundits in the media, things like that. But I'm gonna go ahead and break down this talk about this Rudy Gobert trade real quick. I got a piece pulled up from the Athletic talking about the trade with Rudy Gobert from the Utah Jazz to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm just go ahead and break down the details of the picks of the trade. So Minnesota Timberwolves are acquiring Rudy Gobert in exchange for 4 players and 4 first round picks. So John, the picks going to Utah per sources unprotected first in 2023, 2025, 2027, a swap in 26, and a top 5 protected 29. Golly, that's a lot. ESPN first report the trade. The Wolves are sending Malik Beasley, Jared Vanderbilt, Patrick Beverly, and 2022 first round pick, Walker Kessler. So Timberwolves get Rudy Gobert, and they also will pick up they owe what Gobert is owed roughly 170 million over the next 4 seasons if he picks up his $46.6 million option in 2025, 2026. I didn't know he was getting paid that much. So D'Angelo Russell was on the last leg of his max deal from 2019, but his friendship with Towns there may pressure to bring him back. While it won't be a max deal, it won't be cheap. Although they have been exploring trades involving Russell, and then 2023, and then starting in 2023 and 2024, you can expect a full max contract for Anthony Edwards. Oh, that's guaranteed. So, with that being said, I'm not gonna read the rest of the deal, but I would like to ask y'all who won this trade, man. Like, what's the grade you give it? Because according to this writer from the Athletic, he gives it a C plus. Go ahead.
I, I, personally, You said C plus for which team?
The hold on real quick. Hold on. C plus. Hold on. Give me a second. And you give it a C plus for I think the Jazz.
So
Okay.
then, what did the T Wolves get?
I think it's the T Wolves, man.
You think it's the T Wolves?
Yeah, T Wolves.
Okay.
Yeah, T Wolves get a grade B. The Jazz get a B. T Wolves get a C plus.
Hmm. Okay. Well, in my opinion, we always say the team that gets the best player wins the trade. But you can't say this in this situation because the Jazz, when you get 4 first round picks, you're going to you're I think the Jazz won this trade. Like I feel like they've got even though they got worse from a talent standpoint, but they got better from a depth standpoint, if that makes sense. But I
Mm.
feel that even though they lost one of the best bigs in the NBA, like Rudy Gobert, somebody made this point that people are making such a big deal about the Timberwolves giving up all this for a top 25 player and arguably the best defender in basketball. He is a top 25 player in the NBA, and I agree with that. But at the same, yeah, Brian, he's top 25. Yeah, but even though with the contract he has, DB, he will be making 40 plus million on his contract. Like I'm not gonna lie, he is a lot, worth a lot. But also, the Timberwolves think that they're contenders. Like from that Memphis series, you could tell that they think that they can compete with the big boys. So they don't think those picks will be high picks anyways because they're expecting to be up there in the upper echelon of the Western Conference. So while they may have given up a lot, and I don't like the fact they gave up Jared Vanderbilt or Beasley because those were two really good lengthy defenders. Beasley was real good for them, and they were both. I think Vanderbilt's only 22, Beasley 24, 25. Young players that I think they could have kept and molded some more. I feel, I guess they feel like they're where they want to be to where they. I think that the Timberwolves will benefit from this trade next year, with especially Towns because Towns won't have to play center, and I know that's where even though he's a good defender, he don't like playing center.
Yeah.
He's gonna be that power forward of the future. So I would give it. I would give the Timberwolves a B because they got the
See?
best player. But I would give the Jazz an A because they got one heck of a haul. Their haul for this guy, 4 first round picks, and how the players too, and they got Walker Kessler too, who just came from Auburn, and I think they're gonna try to mold him into being Gobert's replacement because he's literally the same. He's literally the same height. I mean, he's not built like Gobert, but he's literally the same height. So they have, I guess that's their, and he's only 20 years old. So they're gonna try to mold him into their replacement. So the Jazz, I, when I say winners of the trade, I think they both won the trade for different reasons. The Wolves moved closer to contention, and the Jazz moved closer to rebuilding their roster around their star Donovan Mitchell.
Right. Brian, got anything?
Yeah, I think the Jazz. I'll give them an A plus to get this many picks and really solid players. I think they won the trade easily. Now I could be proven wrong. I give the T Wolves a C plus. I don't think it's as bad as some people are making out to be, but I like it, but I don't love it. It helps them. They had some issues rim protect because as good as Carl Anthony Towns is, he's not the greatest rim protector, and he also wanted to play the four apparently. So this moves him to that position. But someone made a point like two of your core, you can only have two super max players on your rosters, and they're two centers in today's NBA. And so it's just, and one is notoriously known for getting exposed in the playoffs because someone made a good point. It's actually not his defense that's the problem. It's its offense. I think it was Zach Lowe because he can't punish the other teams when they go small, and because he's not punishing them, if you're because the way plus and minus works, you can give up something, but you better be able to cancel it out for you to be able to stay on the floor and be effective in the playoffs. Because if you don't, that's why he's such a minus negative a lot because he's just such a liability on the offensive end of the floor. And also Tim Legler made a good point. How's this gonna work? Like it's not saying it like this is gonna work, but I want to see it on the court before I'm a believer. If I'm the T Wolves, I find a way to trade D'Angelo Russell. He's gonna be a free agent next year. I don't think you can pay him and Anthony Edwards, and I'm not sure if that's the greatest fit, anyways. And his value is at his highest too, so you need to trade him, and it's at his highest. I think you got to figure out a way, see if you can find two really good pieces uh, to plug in, so you have good depth. But I think, look, the T Wolves, in my opinion, depending on what other moves they make, I think you can make case they got better short term, but long term, I'm not so sure. And so, and when I say get better, like, do I think they're going to be a contender? No. Like, maybe they may be a second round team, maybe. But think about how loaded the West is this year. And so, until I see it, I'll believe it. But I just don't know if this long term is going to be what they want it to be. But look, I'm not really. The picks are picked. Like, you're going to have to give up picks and trades. So the picks aren't really the problem. It's the depth they lost. They lost Patrick Beverly, who, even though he's been traded a few times, he's a solid role player. Beasley and Vanderbilt, to me, were the really huge losses. Those are the ones that are huge. They're able to keep Jaden McDaniels. That's why they had to throw in an extra pick, because Denver wanted him. Not Denver. Utah wanted him, but they didn't want to give him up. But we'll see how it works. But I don't think, like, that's why I gave him a C plus, because I like it. But the way the game's going and some of the liabilities Gobert has, I'm not sure this will help them be where they want to be. But you never know. So the one thing I'll give them credit is at least they tried something. A lot of teams are scared to do things. They made a move. It may not work. It may work, but at least they tried. I'll give them that.
Okay, I can respect that. The way I see it, so y'all don't think that a team that has twin towers can work? It's worked in the past.
But that's the thing. You said what did you just say when you just said that? You said the past. It's a different era. And so, like, some people point to the Lakers when they won it. But the Lakers, like, one, LeBron James, I feel like when you have LeBron James on your roster, there's a lot of things you can do more than most normal teams can do. But like, it's one thing if Gobert could give you something on the offensive end, like, just if he could give you, even he doesn't even have to be able to shoot threes. If he could just give you a mid-range jumper, and we know he can catch lobs and that. If he could give you just something like that, at least something where the defense has to respect him, then that'd be different. But and obviously some post moves, especially when the teams go small, you have to punish teams for going small. But it can work in the regular season. I can see that happening. But in the postseason, we've seen it. How many times can it work? And someone made a good point. Maybe this trade can work as much if you're allowed to bench Gobert. Because even though he's making a lot of money, in my opinion, there should be some lineups where, more lineups than not, where one of them's on the floor, where either Gobert's sitting and Carl Anthony's playing, or Carl Anthony's sitting and Gobert's playing. I think that balance is going to be very, very important. But I just don't know if, when you make a move like this, you want to be able to feel like you can win a title. And maybe they may feel that way, but I'll believe it when I see it. And I just don't believe it'll happen.
Okay. Yeah, it's written. This story is written by Zach. Zach Harper. I'm assuming he's the beat for the Athletic for the Timberwolves. But this is an expensive roster, man. This is a very expensive roster. You know, going forward, I didn't know that. I know Gobert got paid, but I didn't know it was up to $46 million, $46 million dollars, and you got D'Angelo Russell, who is in a max deal, could get another max deal, and I'm more than sure that when it comes down to it, they're not going to pay both Russell and Anthony Edwards at the same. You know, that's a lot of money, and some owners are willing to pay into that luxury tax, and some owners are not, and I don't think they're going to be at that level of paying for the luxury tax, paying into the luxury tax. But you never know, you know, with today, you know, with this with the ownership, you know, they may feel like the team is close, but I think that Both teams won the trade, like Leo said, various reasons. Minnesota felt like they needed to upgrade, so they gave up a ton of picks for um, Rudy Gobert. And I'm thinking, to a certain extent, that's how I see it. For a player that's a little that could be a liability when it comes to generating offense. That could be a bit excessive to give up all these picks for a player like that. If could understand it, like if Gobert had like a mid range game, offensive output, then maybe you go for it. But he's pretty much a defensive player for the most part. But I mean, I will give the Jazz an A+, man. A+ for coming back with his haul to build around Donovan Mitchell. The Timberwolves, I'll give them a B. I'll give them a B for right now. Well, yeah, B, not a B+, not a B-. That's a B. But both teams got what they wanted, with this trade. So I'm just gonna read a little bit of this snippet from the article. Just thought it was interesting. What Zach wrote. Defensively, you're looking at two horrid defenders in Towns and Russell. Towns improved last season and had his most consistent defensive campaign. This forces him to defend more on the perimeter in the modern NBA. That is a recipe for potential disaster. Russell really struggles on defense as well. The question becomes whether or not Gobert can make up for all of that in the regular season. Absolutely. We saw Gobert anchor some of the best defenses in the modern era at times in Utah. Donovan Mitchell is a turnstile with broken, resistant, and mechanisms. It just keeps spinning regardless of someone trying to go through it. Gobert still cleaned up a lot for him in the regular season, but when we get to the postseason, we saw lots of flaws in Gobert couldn't make up for them. Now you have to do that with Towns, depending on how he adapts to the perimeter. And Russell just as bad as Mitchell. Historically, that has not led to a deep playoff run for Gobert teams. So, I mean, there you have it, man. You get a guy coming from the beat, covering the Timberwolves. A lot of people are not big on this trade, man, but we just got to see how it plays out going forward, man. It's just I don't know if I would give up that many picks for a player that's a liability when it comes to offense, especially in the postseason. Would y'all?
Mm, I'd say no, but he is like he not just some average defender. Let's keep in mind like he is great at one thing. Like he is great. Like that's not he not
Yeah,
good at like it would be one thing if Rudy Gobert was a decent defender and a poor offensive player. People just talk like him like Rudy Gobert gets pooped on like
yeah, he
nobody. Like
does.
he gets pooped on like he's just a horrible player. He's great. He's probably
Yeah,
he's a top 10 defensive big of all time, in my opinion.
three-time defensive player of the
Player
year.
of the year, you cannot deny that. Like he's up there with the Ben Wallaces of the world and the Mutombos of the world.
Combos, yeah,
He is in that like you would say his name in among those names. But the issue is DB, like he's never been on teams to where there was enough offensive firepower to cover his lack of offensive firepower. Like he's always just have had a Donovan Mitchell type. Donovan
Utah had
Mitchell
a team
been
that could score.
he ain't had too many. Like if you look at
Utah had
the
shooters.
yeah, shooters, but they're not consistent. Boogie getters like Jordan Clarkson and Donovan Mitchell are the two. I've always and for the last few years have been the Jazz's best two offensive players. Jordan Clarkson and Donovan Mitchell.
Wasn't that team a number one seed last year
It,
because of their shooting?
they were number one seed last year, and they had Bojan Bogdanovic too. But but I think this Wolves team is fit for him. You know why? They're gonna hide. They have so much explosive offense. He's not gonna need to be offensively. If he can give them 10 points a game and give them 15, 20 boards during these games, they're gonna be fine. Karl Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, they're gonna give you all the offense you need, want, and could ever ask for. He goes to a perfect situation where he can just be dominant, play defense. He won't have to worry about putting up numbers offensively from a point standpoint. He just worry about playing defense and being big.
Is D'Angelo that good?
D'Lo had a 30-piece in him. He had a couple of 30. He had
He
D'Lo
ain't
is
at the average though, man.
He's a
Huh?
solid
He
player.
ain't that man though, man.
D'Lo, people weren't saying that when D'Lo was on the Nets carrying them to the playoffs. Now, people weren't saying, and when he was on the Warriors for half a season, putting up 23 a game. Let's keep that wasn't too long ago.
Yeah, but what was I gonna say? With the Warriors, he was doing it without Steph Curry, Klay Thompson. Not saying it wasn't, but he was doing it on a bad team. And one of the reasons why the Warriors moved him is that just wasn't a good fit. Because like the way the Warriors play and the way D'Angelo Russell plays, two totally opposites. But one thing I gotta just stop you. A point that you lost me was when you said Utah wasn't a great offense or a good offensive team. They were really good offensively. Did they have some regression in the playoffs from what they were in the regular season? Yes, but they had some guys that could get buckets. Do they have maybe the individual talent Minnesota does? No, but they had some guys that could score, really efficient players. Their biggest issue was their perimeter defenders and Gobert and their ability not to go small. In order to win in the playoffs, in the playoffs, you have to be defensively versatile. That means you can play big and go small when you need to. And Utah just wasn't able to do that when they needed to. And they just didn't have the perimeter defenders. So that's what's going to be important for Minnesota, to surround some of these players, Gobert, with better perimeter defenders than he had in Utah, and take it from there. But there's going to be a time in the playoffs where I feel like they're going to have to get small. And as long as they're willing to do that and have a good plan, they'll be all right. But I just don't know if this can help you get where you ultimately want to be, which is win a title. But I would love to be proven wrong. So I can't wait to see this on the court.
Yeah, me too. Looking forward to it. If their coach is good at adjusting in the postseason to where they can hide the flaws of Gobert, I think it could help out. It could work, but we'll see, because in the playoffs you're playing against, you're going up against guys like a Steve Kerr. Who else is out there? Jason Kidd,
Tyronn Lue.
Tyronn Lue. Yep,
Yeah.
Tyronn Lue. Darvin.
Darvin Ham, yep. And don't forget about Monty. Do not forget about Monty Williams either.
Yep, Monty Williams, Willie Green. Man, you're going up against some good coaches that are good at in-game adjustments, especially Steve Kerr. We saw that in the NBA Finals. So if you can get that to work, that's a huge indictment on Gwen Snyder, man. I'm just being real.
No,
Quinn
I
got up out of there.
disagree. I disagree
It's a huge
because
indictment, dude.
no, but let me explain why it was an indictment. It's not an indictment. That Utah didn't surround him with the pieces to make it work. Where they ultimately,
Why are people crapping on him then? Why are
No,
people crapping on
who?
Gobert?
Because his contract is insane. Someone made a good point on Twitter, and I'll never forget it. If at any point they have to take you off the court, you're not a max player. There's no way he should be making as much money as he makes. But also, Utah didn't surround him with pieces to be successful in terms of perimeter defenders. Like a lot of the stuff they do, why he or Gobert, like that catch-22, where he's doing his job, where he's protecting the rim, because Utah perimeter defense, they couldn't stop anybody from getting penetration, and he did his job. But the problem is, the catch-22 is, you do that job when teams are playing small. They run that 5-out system. You're going to leave a shooter open, basically. That's like a practice shot for that person. And if you make those threes, there's nothing you can do. And so Gobert, he's basically, and he was even doing a better job, I feel like, this getting out there and contesting the shot a little bit. But it's hard for him to, like, his natural instincts to protect the rim. And he did better switching, or getting out to the shooters. But that's not his strength. His strength is protecting the rim. And I think Minnesota, if they surround him with the right pieces, turn the perimeter defenders, I think this can work, especially in the regular season. Postseason, they'll get to a point where they're going to have to play one or the other sometimes, because I just don't think you can do that for the majority of a series and win it. Unless if Gobert can give you some offense. He has to give you some offense. Doesn't have to be a world beater, but he has to give you some offense. Because if he doesn't, the stuff he's giving up, he's not making it up, and then that's a recipe for disaster.
Okay, that's. I mean, I agree with that. That's you're right, but still, man, whose job is it to fix defense, correct the defense?
Coach.
Well, it's the front office job is to give you the best roster to reach your ceiling. Then it's up to the coach to help to put everyone in position to be successful.
Did Snyder do that?
No.
Yes and no, but did he have the personnel to do that? You have to see. That's the way I look at it. If you have the personnel to do something and then you don't achieve it, then that falls on the coach. But if you don't have the personnel, then I can't blame the coach. Go ahead, Leah.
Go ahead.
But just so I know Quinn Snyder is not all that. There is no reason why in the world they should have lost to Dallas in this series. There is okay. Hold up.
There is there is no reason why the Jazz should have lost to Dallas last year in the playoffs, especially with 2 games without Luka Doncic. There is no excuses. There you can't make no there's no justification of that. You can't. They didn't make adjustments from game. They felt like it was like they got in one game they got blown out by almost 30 without Luke. So you have to think about that too. And I think really Quinn Snyder did the best thing he could was get out of there. Because I know they probably would have never fired him, but I would have thought about it because this team is he only has in his tenure I think 2 second round appearances in 9 years. That's not that good. We expect you to at least have made a conference finals in that time. And they've had a lot of underachieving this season. So I'm not really a big Quinn Snyder fan. I just want to throw that in there.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That kind of that kind of explains why you're down on him now. But Quinn Snyder's a good coach. Again, it's all about the roster. If you have the roster to be versatile in the playoffs and you don't reach your maximize your potential, then I'll blame that on the coach. But it's going to be interesting to see what Minnesota does. But I don't. Part of the reason why Quinn Snyder did leave is I think he wanted to keep Gobert, and maybe he wanted to add perimeter defenders, and Danny Ainge was ready to move on, which I think was the right decision to blow it up. They had maxed out. But the thing with that I'll keep on saying with about Quinn Snyder, if he wants to, I believe he'll get another shot. Uh, and I would like to see him with a much better roster, especially a team more obviously more individual talent, but a roster that's more versatile. And then let's see what he does. Then if he doesn't maybe reach a conference final or he has a talent to win a title, doesn't do that, then I can maybe get behind what you're saying, Leo. But I have to see it to believe it.
What team would be a good fit, Brian?
And he would have been nice for the Lakers, but I'm not mad with Darvin Ham. We'll see what jobs open up. I don't know off the top of my head. Charlotte would have been nice, but we'll see what jobs open up next season, and then I'll probably be able to let you know. But right now, I'm fine with all the coaches that get hired.
All right, it's cool. All right, moving right along. Next, we're going to talk about a breakdown of Zion Williamson's and John Morant's new deals. Both players were taken 1 and 2 in a 2019 NBA draft. Um, Pretty much, John Morant has led his team to the playoff contention in each of the 3 years that he's been with the it's 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, each of the 3 years that he's been in Memphis. Zion Williamson has only had the team Pelicans have been in playing game contention. Last year was the first time they've gotten to play in contention. Got in the play-in tournament and qualified for a postseason berth. But both players signed their max deals. That first contract they signed in that first max deal, but they signed. Going to go ahead and talk about the one for John Morant. Is a 5-year rookie maximum extension that could be worth up to 230 million. The contract tops the 153 million that modern money back then. But Williamson signed a deal somewhat similar to John Morant signed 5 year, $193 million. His could go up to 231 million with he meets if he reach certain incentives such as I think it's all defense, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, win MVP, all kind of different incentives in his contract. But there's also some clauses in there as well. They didn't the media didn't go into the details about what the clauses are in his contract. But both players are pretty much going to be in there with their teams for at least next 5 to 6 seasons. So with that being said, with both rosters pretty much being built up organically to be playoff contenders, which player is more likely to lead their team to an NBA Finals appearance? John Morant or Zion Williamson?
Uh, we're talking about the rosters right now, or just where we can
In
include
general,
potential trades.
potential trades too.
All right. Well, if the either of these players get Kevin Durant, then that helps their chances. I have to lean towards Memphis. I don't think they have the better roster than the Pelicans, but I think they have the player the better player. That's fair to say right now. Ja's the better player than Zion because he's proven it longer. But if Zion can get it together and then they can add a guy like Kevin Durant, then I'll probably give the Pelicans a slight edge. But right now I have to go with Ja. I just think he's getting better every year, and he's made me a believer in that he could potentially be the best player on a championship team. But if not that, then he could be like a 1B, like maybe Anthony Davis was to LeBron. And if KD comes, he could be obviously the best player on that team.
I want to go with the Pelicans here. Feel that they, have the better pieces around. I feel like both teams have really improved their drafting in the last few years. Like the DB said, they built organically. I just feel like the Pelicans have more, slightly more talent and edge. I feel like I feel like Zion's better than John Morant. I just feel like, and he showed it in lesser samples of work. Keep in mind, in 85 games, Zion Williamson is averaging 26 points a game. Just keep in mind that he started an All-Star game his rookie year. Let's keep that in mind that he was among the top players at his position when he plays. And I know he's had only played 85 games in 3 years, but let's keep in mind when he was on the floor, this guy was no scrub. This guy was playing up there at the level that John Morant's playing right now. So let's just keep that in mind. And I don't think it's leaps and bounds that if you say Ja's better, that's your opinion. You have the right to have that. But I don't think it's leaps and bounds that it's, John Morant's up in the sky as Zion's looking from the ground. I don't think it's that. I think Zion is slightly better from a talent standpoint. The question is about Zion remaining around his durability. And I think this is why I think the Pelicans, are more built to last long term than the Grizzlies in terms of getting to the finals first, is because I feel like even though the Grizzlies went 20-3 without Zion, and I just feel like there's a ceiling that they can reach. I feel like even without Zion, the Pelicans have a higher ceiling, if that makes sense. Like even if Zion's obviously going to be their core guy for going forward, but if they were, let's just say, to go some more time without having Zion, especially with Grizzlies not having Jaren for the first few months of the season next upcoming year, if they don't have John Morant, I don't think they're going to last like the Pelicans would if they don't have Zion, let's say, for a few months, because I think like I said, the Pelicans have the better core of players, and I feel like if the Pelicans, I wouldn't be surprised if the Pelicans made the conference finals or finals next year. I wouldn't be surprised. You think I'm crazy? They're not that far off. Like they showed against the Suns in that playoff series that they were better than the Suns in some of them games. They could have beaten the Suns. And people were saying this, Brian. And I know you saw, if they had Zion Williamson, I think they would have beat the Suns. I think they would have beat this. A lot of people were saying on Twitter and other sites,
If they had Zion Williamson, a player that could have got in some of the close losses that they had against the Suns, would have put them over the top in some of them games. I think I maybe not beat them, but they take them 7 games for sure. And you saw what they were doing without, and they didn't have nearly as much talent as the Suns have, and they had so much youth and inexperience, but they still fought. So I think that gives a lot of Pelicans fans momentum going forward. And even though yes, the Grizzlies made the second round, which was farther than the Pelicans, I feel that with the Jaren situation taking place, they can they might drop a few spots in the standings due to that because that's a big loss for them. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, what I was going to say, this is 2 things I'm going to say. This is my big hot take. I won't be surprised if both the Pelicans and the Grizzlies don't make the playoffs next year.
That's why man, come on.
That's my big hot take.
The
Grizzlies fans have got out to be.
Come on, ain't no way.
All right. And then what you got to also say, you're saying, well, Zion could have helped them win the series. There's this thing you know called chemistry. They've yet to build it with this core that they have. I'm not even sure. Do we know Zion and Jonas Valanciunas can be a successful pairing? We don't know that. We have to wait and see. And so if they're able to figure that out, then yes, I think they could potentially make the semifinals. Let's take his baby step before we take a big conference finals and finals. That's a huge step. Now, if you're saying they're probably thinking they may get Kevin Durant, then I could see that. But let's first let them make the conference semifinals. Then maybe we can think about that. But again, the biggest issue is going to be chemistry and how deep the West is. So that's my hot take that they both won't make the playoffs. But we'll see. I would love to see Zion, number one, stay healthy and then be in the playoffs. The NBA would need that. NBA fans would love to see that. But I just don't know how it's going to work with him and Jonas Valanciunas. I think even though they may not want to do it, they're probably going to have to bring Jonas off the bench and then start him with Zion, either with a Larry Nance or a Jackson Hayes, someone like that. Because Zion, as good as he is, he has his defensive liabilities. That's like the perfect fit. It wasn't going to happen. But imagine he and Chet Holmgren would have been together. Someone like that can cover up some of his defensive liabilities. I would have loved to see that. But obviously that wasn't going to happen. So to close my argument, I just think that the Pelicans, I have to see it before I believe it. I think if I had to bet money, I'd lean toward they do make the playoffs, but I won't be surprised if they don't. But again, chemistry is going to be interesting to see and see how they all put it together. But if they get the right pieces, if they can add another piece, then I could see them making a run. But right now, I see if they do make the playoffs, I see them probably losing the first round again.
All right. Go ahead.
But DB, I didn't mean to cut you up, but to another point that you said, tell me why, like what in the element, like, okay, you say 2 things to address what you said. I don't want to like nitpick it, what you said, a lot of it, but I just want to go, what part of you think, like, what's your 2 questions? What's your reason behind the Grizzlies and Pelicans both missing the playoffs? And number 2, you say Zion and Jonas aren't a good pairing, even though Jonas is a solid 3-point shooter for a big. Are you referring to them not being a solid good pairing defensively?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I think they could offense. I feel like you can find a way to figure out, but I'm talking about the defensive end.
Okay.
And yeah, like the reason why the West is going to be loaded. The Clippers, we can both agree the Clippers are going to make the playoffs this year. They
should.
Yeah, so that's already. I believe Utah will probably miss it, so you can count them out. I think the Lakers make the playoffs this year. It may be an 8th seed, but I think they make it. So that's already 2 new teams, and then that means, and the Grizzlies are going to be without Jaren, and maybe they can trade for a big, or they get good production for what they have, but I think they're going to start out slow. And then the Pelicans chemistry, like if Zion had played more than he played this season, and they had shown me that they could play at a high level and play good basketball together and have good chemistry, then maybe I would change my mind. But I have to see it before I believe it. That's why I wouldn't be surprised if Jonas Valanciunas doesn't start. But maybe they're able to figure it out and prove me wrong. But yeah, that's my hot take. Both of those teams don't make the playoffs.
Come on, Brian, man. Come on, man. You got hot take, Brian, man.
Ready for
But
all.
anyways, man, I think I would go with the Pelicans, man. You already got that strong number two in Brandon Ingram. You got C.J. McCullough, the veteran, and you got Zion Williamson, and you got, I think, a potential perennial defensive player in Herb Jones, and you got Jose Alvarado. I think both of those guys going to be like really good defenders in the future. That's what I think. And we still don't know what is Trey Murphy's ceiling, you know? And I don't think the Grizzlies have the type of players yet. But what they got going for them, man, is John Morant, man. The dude is ready. He is ready. I think he can be the number one on the championship team without question. Even if they had to get a Kevin Durant. But I mean, if they done even if the Pels or the Grizzlies don't add, I think going forward between Memphis and the Pelicans, I think the Grizzlies need Kevin Durant. Would need Kevin Durant more than the Pelicans need Kevin Durant. That's how I see it. But I think they will make the finals over the Grizzlies first, without adding a Kevin Durant or adding somebody else, adding another, enhancer down the road, whoever that may be. But I just think that Zion, man, like Leo said, man, the guy was putting up some big numbers, man, prior to him getting hurt. Even when he was a rookie, man, he was really doing really well before everything, shut down, the pandemic and those injuries started him out. John Morant, don't get me wrong, the guy has kept his team in playoff contention, despite, everything else going on around him. They built that team organically. Think Desmond Bain. I think if John Morant didn't get hurt, maybe if they would have deployed JJ Jaren Jackson Jr. a little more in the inside and the interior against Golden State, I think they would have beat the Warriors, man. It's just crazy that that didn't happen, man. When they had JJ out there shooting threes like that, I'm like, bro, put him on the inside, bro. Pound Golden State in the interior, and it just didn't work. And then that injury occurred in Zion, child, and that was pretty much it. But to me, man, I think the Pelicans will make the finals first, man. That's how I see it.
One quick thought I have for both of you guys. So we're sure that Zion would, let's say they keep the team they have. Zion's the number one option. Are we sure with that? Because I don't think that's the case. I think it's Brandon Ingram.
No, bro.
I want to explain why. Explain why? I want to know why you think it's Zion over BI.
Because it just is, man. It is, bro. It's dude. This dude is a generational talent, man. This dude is a generational talent, and bro, I think the way I see it is that without Zion on the team, it has a ceiling. The team has like a ceiling. You know what I'm saying? It's not. They're not a threat that they are with him on the court. This is the way I see it.
I don't know. You can still add pieces. The reason why I see what you're saying, but I may be a hate. I'm not a hater, but I'm not optimistic Zion can be a best player on a championship team. I just don't. But I believe BI can. And you look at the teams that are winning, they all have wings that can go get their own shots, like a Jason Tatum. The Warriors didn't have it, but they have a Steph Curry. They had some their guards are really good. So maybe they're
in the finals, man.
Say what?
What Tatum did in the finals, though?
Yeah, he struggled, but
he turned the ball over.
Yeah, but because they didn't have a really good point guard. Marcus Smart is great defensive player. He's improved his playmaking, but he ain't like this move Brogdon made. They maybe add one more piece to what they have. I think Boston could be the favorite coming to win the title. I really believe that. But
don't blame us on Marcus Smart though.
He may not start, but I think he could close, and that's all that matters. And Brogdon gives them that initiator that they really haven't had. But back to what I was saying about, I just don't think Zion can look. I mean, all right, let's just talk about his game. He has some defense potential and an elite athlete. I'll give you that. But other than, I mean, he has some all right post moves, but he's not a great jump shooter. He can improve that, but I just don't think he has a better overall game than Brandon Ingram. And like I was saying before, I feel like you need wings to win in this league. Now Zion can prove me wrong. I love being proved wrong, but I just don't think he's a better player than Brandon Ingram is. And a lot of people agree with me, so I'm not
Go
the
ahead, Leo. Jump in.
yeah.
Bro, they could find another Brandon Ingram. They could go find another Brandon Ingram. Keep in mind what Brandon Ingram was before he got to the Pelicans. He wasn't even like when they got the Brandon Ingram trade. They weren't even that wasn't the highlight piece of the trade. That was the highlight. They got Lonzo Ball. Keep that in mind. Lonzo Ball was the highlight of that trade, bro. You
He
know
was.
that. He was the highlight of that trade. They could go find another. You're not finna go draft another Zion Williamson, who I think could be as a Charles Barkley type player in this league. That's a guy that can go. This guy can give you 20 and 10 on a nightly basis. Like this is a special talent. Like his 85 game sample of his play games, it ranks up there with the best to ever do this. Like Shaq's, the like I and Brian, you're a big analytics guy. Zion's plus minus on the court is very good. Like he may not be the great defenders of the world, but he's good enough to where he's not a turnstile like Donovan Mitchell. He's not that. And Zion, I watched his highlight. I was watching some of his games actually. Zion's stroke from the jump shot stroke, he might not make it, but it's a smooth jumper, and he's a actually decent 3-point shooter. Actually, he's not a great one. He won't ever be a great one, but he's a threat. You're not like teams were in his first few games. I noticed they would leave him wide open, and he was making them pay. When you make a guy, he you can't just leave him open. Oh, it's a guaranteed miss. No, so I feel like overall, like if you take Zion, like you said, like DB said, without Zion last year, that team was a ceiling set first round team. That's what their ceiling was a first round team. A lot of people thought that they were gonna get swept by Phoenix. A lot of people was predicting Phoenix to win in 4 games. I'm not gonna lie, I thought Phoenix was gonna win in like 5 games. I was pleasantly happy to see that they didn't win in 5 games. But like I said, we both made the argument, and I know DB, you saw a lot of people say this too. Like we said, Zion Williamson could have made that team a second round team last year. That's a second round team. And I know chemistry, Brian, like let's just say they had played 20, 25 games together, and you said you would have seen you maybe would have believed it, maybe. But it,
Maybe.
if you throw him in there, like I think preseason, I think he played during the preseason. Like you got to get him in there so you can see what the chemistry look like for and get him ready for the regular season. And I think that the first few games gonna be tell and tell end of it all. But I think Zion, this is gonna be the year he proves a lot of people. You know, a lot of people saying he's a bust. He's the farthest thing from a bust. Trust me, I've seen a bust. He's no bust at all. And anybody that averages 25 points a game,
It's not a
even though
buzz.
he's not a bust. Bust is somebody who can't play. He can play. Now the question is, can his knees hold up all 82 games, and will he need load management? Now that is a real question. Do you think he'll need load management, DB?
He might. He may need it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
58,
have an
60
issue with it.
games. 58,
Yeah.
60 games, you think?
Huh?
You think like around 60 games for him?
Yeah, 60. Yeah, 60 games then for him.
Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, we'll see, man. Both players, man. I think both of these players could like transcend the league, man. You know, when I say that because like we've seen a lot of small market players go up to these big markets like a LA or Miami, Boston. Well, nobody really, blows down the door to go to, to Boston. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Or like a Brooklyn. Who else is out there? LA Clippers, things like places like that. But I think it's gonna be to come down to the point to where, yeah, we're gonna have other players, other free agents want to come play in Memphis, New Orleans, even Anthony Edwards, man. Like players are still gonna want to come down to Minnesota. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's how I think both players are going to transcend the league, man, going forward, man. It's going to be a lot of, I think, it's going to be a lot of Zion versus job debates on these shows going in the future. That's how I think the league is going to go with both teams. I don't think they're going to mess it up, bro. I don't think the Grizzlies, the current regime that's in Memphis right now, is going to be like the previous one in the Z-Boy era. That's what I think. What do y'all think?
Yeah, this regime, they're getting a lot of heat. That's why I'd like to add a guy like Isaac Simpson. He's been very, very critical of the front office. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter, but I feel like they could have done more in terms of value for their draft, and we'll see. They're in the Kevin Durant sweepstakes. I don't know if they'll get him, but at least they're trying to make a big move. But I like the direction this program, the Grizzlies, are going in. One thing that you have to note that people won't talk about, and I think regression could come in terms of they've overachieved every year.
Yeah,
They have, and eventually you're gonna hit if you especially with aggression in terms of the roster, they moves they made. If they don't make any more moves that can kind of replace what they had or get them to where they can reach at least the same level or get even better, that's part of the reasons why I think they could potentially miss the playoffs. And going back to the Zion BI thing, one more thing, and kind of you throw CJ Culliman. Who do you think if the Pelicans need a game-winning shot? Who do you think they're going to get the ball to? It's not going to be Zion,
McCollum.
maybe McCollum, but it's probably going to be Bi.
let me be I.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why I think Bi is so important for the Pelicans. And look, maybe you can maybe compare. Not saying he'll be this good. Maybe you can say Giannis is or not. Zion is like the Pelicans Giannis, and Bi is like the Pelicans Chris Middleton. Maybe you can pitch me there, but I still think Bi is the most important player for the Pelicans.
You're a valid point. All right, moving right along. We're gonna talk about this. I'm surprised y'all didn't bring it up in the chat, but there's a tweet put out by Lakers owner Jeanie Buss about it was just I think it was a genuine tweet that sharing our thoughts on this. I think the current state of the Lakers, and I got the tweet pulled up on my phone. Just go ahead and read it real quick. I miss KB. He will understand and explain everything that I am not allowed to. Honestly, he was the greatest Laker ever. He understood team over self, meaning your rewards will come if you value team goals over your own. Then everything will fall into place. All can reply. That's the end of the tweet. So, what do you interpret from that tweet, man?
Uh, I'll take this one first. I really don't interpret too much of it. Jeanie has done a solid job. Could she have made? My only issue with Jeanie is maybe the having the Rambuses. I feel like they had too big of a role, and I feel like she could have hired a more experienced office. Even with Rob Pelinka there, if you want to keep him, get him a more experienced GM in there. But some of his moves he's made have been baffling. Uh, and I think one thing I noticed on Lakers Twitter, they don't want the Lakers to overpay for Kyrie at all. And I felt part of that has to do with the situation they're in terms of they feel like Rob Pelinka is bidding against himself, so there's no reason to overpay. But I think that could potentially change the longer it gets without them not getting Kyrie and how badly they want it. But I feel like because Rob Pelinka overpaid to get AD, that plays a role in it. And if you didn't overpay to do that, maybe you could get a pass for doing this. That's just me. But some people were like saying it has to do with LeBron, her tweet about putting Kobe's name into it. I just think Jeanie was just maybe thinking about Kobe and just tweeted about it. I don't read too much into it. She's a woman. Women can be emotional sometimes. That's why I think it was an emotional tweet. That's all it was. That's just me. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts. I feel like you have something different you're thinking, but go ahead.
I really just I ain't gonna lie. I'm not even gonna like cap. I just saw the tweet. Like I ain't really even like no, like I just saw the tweet.
Like from when you talked about it in the group chat, like when you were sending the topics, DB. And
Yeah.
I had to just look at it to educate myself on what she said. I always look too much into it. I just feel like Brian said, like she kind of was in thought, just thinking about Kobe, just thinking about him, and like just really, that was really the anchor of the franchise for so many years. Now, I don't think he's the best Laker of all time, but that's her opinion. So, but and and may he rest in peace. But the point is, I really didn't look too much into it when I thought about it because that's just really, I think, like Brian, I think for once you were right when it comes to these women. Yeah, she probably was just deep in thought, and just was just emotions were getting the best of her. She just wanted to type it out, on a platform for people can see it. I don't look too much deeper into that, but I know, like Bada said, you may have some thoughts behind it. It may be some some ulterior motives that you may think were into that tweet, or some innuendos that she wanted out there. So I'm more interested to hear what you have to say, DB, because I don't really know too like what I could have taken out of it, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, I've looked online, and there's been a lot of articles out there state that she was taking a shot at LeBron, and there's even talk about her not really wanting Kyrie Irving on the team, and that's because you know of what went down in Brooklyn and Boston and places like that. It, we never know, man. We say that we're not looking into it deep like that, but you never know, man. With people put out these subliminal tweets and these cryptic tweets, and it was a genuine tweet. It was genuine thoughts, but I think she could be a little frustrated. She could be frustrated at what went down, what has transpired with the organization, with the Lakers not fully living up to expectations, being a playing team, just winning one championship. And I've said it in the past that the Lakers' standard is not just to get to the finals and win one championship. Is to continue being championship status. Year one. This year, the next year, and the year after that. It's just not just to have a championship and be satisfied. But I mean, you just gotta live with those mistakes now. Gotta do going forward. What are you gonna do better than what you did prior to making those mistakes where I don't know what the issue is with um them giving the Ramesses all that control. And I don't mean Rob. I mean, you had to give up something for AD, man. At the time when he made the move for AD was being built as a hold on real quick.
Yeah, sorry guys.
AD, all right, go ahead. AD at the time when they made the move for AD, people were viewing AD as a generational talent. Am I wrong? The dude was being viewed as a generational talent, a top 5 player at the time, and they made the move. They had to give some up for him. And now that he's with the Lakers, I don't know what it is. I mean, I hear all kind of reports out there that she doesn't come into camp in shape. He's not the leader. He's not motivated. LeBron's frustrated with it. It's just all kind of things you hear out there. But it was done is done now. You just got to make the right. You just got to make the. You just can't repeat what you did prior to that. You know. But I think the biggest thing for the Lakers next year is going to be health, man. Like health, and if they do keep Westbrook, if he could like somewhat develop a mid range shot, a mid range game as a point guard, I think they could be really good if they could stay healthy for the majority of that season. What do y'all think?
Okay. All right. Yeah. I think they can, if they make right now it's currently constructed. I think they can make the play in. If they make the playoffs, they'll be a low seed, and then I think they go in the first round. if they somehow keep Russell Westbrook, they need some more wings. That's their big issue. They need some wings. Figure out a way. They need to get rid of Nunn. They need to get rid of THT. They have too many small guards, so they got to figure out a way to get some balance on the roster. And the one area that needs is big wings, like size 6, 7, and up. And take it from there. But right now, I don't see this team doing much this season.
Even with a Kyrie?
That changes things a little bit, but I still, even with Kyrie, I don't see them being a contender for a title. Maybe I can move them up to maybe they can win a series, but that's about it.
Bro, they're championship contenders with Kyrie Irving, bro. They can definitely win a title.
With Kyrie Irving as your championship as a point guard on your team, you got a shot at winning the title. Trust me. I know, and please don't bring up last season because last season was an anomaly. Normally, when Kyrie's on your team, you got a shot at the title, bro. Like he's gonna put together a lot of stuff. We would have to see what that roster looked like after Kyrie came to determine that too, though, because with Kyrie goes a lot that you got to give to get Kyrie. So, let's see what the roster will look like. But I think the roster will still be competitive, especially if you don't include AD in that trade.
Yeah.
But I just, DV, I don't know. Like, when we go back to the tweet a little bit, what you were saying about the tweet, how were people saying that she was taking a shot at LeBron?
Because when she mentioned the word, like, let me pull it up real quick. Let me put it out on my phone. When she mentioned, honestly, he was the greatest Laker ever. He understood team over self, meaning your rewards come if you value team goals over your own. Then everything will fall into place. I think that's when she mentioned that part. I think a lot of people are saying, well, she kind of sending a shot at LeBron, sending a shot at Westbrook, talking about AD. That's what people interpret from it, man. She hasn't tweeted anything since that. That was 2 days ago. That was the last tweet.
That's a very beautiful woman.
Yeah. Wait, hey, Leah, you were saying something about trading AD. Did you say something?
Yeah, I said something. Yeah.
Something. Wait, can you elaborate that? Is that like AD for Kyrie? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was saying if the team with LeBron, Kyrie, and AD would be lethal if AD is not in the trade thing and get Kyrie. I mean, if I wouldn't blame the Lakers for trading AD because you talked about it in the past, Brian. They should trade AD. So this would be a perfect time to get somebody who would be of equal value to him, in my opinion. Do you agree?
Yes and no. If Kyrie had more deals and Kyrie was more responsible, then I'd maybe make that move. But I think that'd be a bad decision. My only thing, if you're trading AD, I think it's when you're blowing it up. That's the only time I would trade AD.
So Bron's out of there too at that point.
Well, like if LeBron decides he doesn't want to sign the extension, or he wants to get on free agency, and you think there's a chance he just may not come back, then that's when you trade AD. But I think, or unless if you can get a better player, but I don't think you're going to get that if you trade AD. I think you'll just get young players and some picks. So
like the Pelicans did.
Yeah, but it won't be that value. No team's going to make a trade like that for this AD. That I guess that one, it was an overpay, and they thought they were going to get
generate some talent. Yeah,
and he was younger back there, but it still was an overpay. I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't get more. You probably get maybe 2 first-round picks, but that's about it. Because he's also going to be. I think he has a player option after next season. So this season he doesn't have a player option, but after next season he does, and so I don't see a team overpaying for that. But to close this one out, I just don't. Even if they trade for Kyrie, I don't see them being a contender. But if they can add, if they can add some pieces along with Kyrie, and then put out the chemistry together, then maybe I give them a puncher's chance. Would I bet them to win? No, but
I would give them a puncher's chance to win the title. And as long as you got LeBron and AD and Kyrie and really good pieces around them, then I think you got a shot. But until I see it, I'll believe it.
All right. You want to add something? Say something else, Leo?
Yeah. I got a couple things I want to add to what Mr. Brian Botter had to present in front of us. First of all, I have a question, Brian. You say the Lakers, like, what wings out there you say that they need to add? Like, you were talking about how they feel like they need to get bigger at the wing position. Like, I know you probably feel like, I know you saw like when Malik Monk, like, you think them bringing back Monk would have been like a thing? Because I was really looking at that move right there, like a Monk, or like they brought back Stanley Johnson. They brought in, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is it Josh Jackson? Not Josh Jackson.
As an upside type of signing, I would have liked Josh Jackson. Kenrick Williams, he plays for the Thunder. Mm-hmm. He's a really solid player, and he could fit in that Marc Gasol trade exception. I would like him. Otto Porter Jr. would have been my number one target, but I don't know. Apparently his wife is from Toronto, so I think that played a role in him signing with the Raptors. And I don't know if he would have taken if he would have wanted to come play here anyways. But at least I wish there had been some report or some news that they at least offered him a contract here, and he passed it down. Then I would have been fine with that. But I always even felt, unless they got lucky in a signing, they're probably going to have to trade for the wings that they need. And, I mean, it may not be a great wing, but, like, if a solid player like a Kenrick Williams from the Thunder, players like that are young, athletic, that can, and defensively versatile, those are the type of players you need to win the NBA. And I feel like the Lakers are really missing that.
And what's this infatuation with Kenrick Williams? I know he played for the Pelicans. DB. A lot of teams, like I remember, like with last year, like when he was on the Pelicans, like teams used to try to make these golden trades to get in. What's the value that he has?
Who?
Kenrick Williams. Yeah, Kenrick Williams. Like he played on the Pelicans, and like teams used to try to make all types of trades to try to get him. Like he was one of the hot commodities on the trade deadline. You remember he got sent to the Thunder. And then ever since he built the Thunder, everybody been talking about trying to get him off the Thunder to get to it. Because they were talking about like contending teams trying to get their hand, like the Celtics last year. What's this infatuation with him? Because I honestly don't know too much about him.
I don't know that much about him either, man.
I'll tell you. Yeah, he's just a really good 3-and-D wing. That's what every team needs. He's a really good defender, and he can shoot really, really well. That's why teams want him. And he's cheap. That's the most important thing. He's at a cheap price. That's why teams are really interested in him. Yeah.
All right. So, anything else? I will say something. Hey, but you know what's interesting though? A team that could have Kyrie, AD, and LeBron is not regarded as a championship contending team. That's crazy.
Yeah, but let me explain.
But 3 years, 3 to 4 years ago, this would be viewed as a super team. Remember when the Kawhi watch of 2019, the summer, when Kawhi had everybody, checking it, refreshing their phones on Twitter, and at the time it was like Kyrie could sign with the Lakers, and it could be Kawhi could sign with the Lakers, and you have AD, Kawhi, and LeBron all on the same team at once. But it didn't happen. Now you put them together, and people don't even view that. People are not even viewing that as a team that could win in the West.
That's crazy.
What world we live in now, man?
These players are also not the same version of themselves anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
They're all older. The role players, I feel role players are really, really important. And the West, the most important thing, the West is loaded. That's the biggest thing. Like, it's not a knock against these players. They're all great players. LeBron obviously isn't in his prime. He's past his prime, but LeBron has defied logic for a while. But I think this season showed LeBron can only do so much. AD needs to stay healthy more. On paper, it's a good team, but a solid core key is on paper. You got to put it together. And again, the biggest thing is the West is loaded. Like, you ask yourself, like, even maybe the fifth best team in the West, like regular season coming after the regular season's over. You can make a case they could potentially win it. That's how deep it is. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be interesting to see.
The only way I think they can make some noise, man, is like something happened with the other teams in the West, like they did in the bubble, or the Clippers go down.
Mm-hmm.
Who else went down? Clippers went down. You playing against a team like the Nuggets. That's the only way, man. But even that's gonna be dangerous now. But a lot of stuff got to happen for them to make it have a shot at going to the Western Conference Finals. So we'll see. All right, man. That's all we have for y'all for right now, man. Give us a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let us know how you feel with these topics we talked about on YouTube. If you listen to this through Apple or Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. Let us know how you feel. Give us a good review. Also, check out strike7sports.com for latest content on the NFL, the NBA, and much more. We have more NFL content coming soon and college football as well. Also, Memphis Tigers football content will be coming back soon. So looking forward to that. Next week, we got a really good guest coming to the show. Hopefully, a guy that knows the ins and outs of Memphis Tigers basketball and pretty much Memphis sports in general. So we're looking forward to that next week. But that's all we have for y'all for right now. Have a blessed night. Be safe. Peace. We out.